Hi, just back for another one. I'm going to cover old ground that I did in a previous video, but that's fine. I think this is just a really important topic to talk about, and it's uh, about the prickly therapy and how it's basically, I think, I don't know, I just use this term. I think it's like a possibly like an MK Ultra experiment over ground. And previously, um, these kinds of experiments were done on select people. You know, underground meaning no one really knew about it, and including the the underground bases, the underground military type bases all around Europe and stuff like that. That I probably spoke of in other interviews. You know, like Duncan O'Finian, Barry King. I'm going to mention him here as well. I've got my notes with me. Um, so it just got me thinking about how Klaus Schwab, um, the Weffers, how he talks about the fourth industrial revolution being that human guinea pigs are basically part of it. He talks about changing you from the inside, you know what I'm talking about. He talks about how it will make people question their identity of who they actually are, which I found very interesting. Because who you are is going to change, he's saying. I think this is much far deeper than this being a weapon to hurt people and cold people. It is deeper. It's partly that, but let me add, if I haven't said it before, probably have, but let me add that in. If you listen to Barry King, it's just taking their word, maybe with a pinch of salt, okay. But if you listen to Barry King and you listen to Duncan Finian, and they sound sincere, and others, there's a few others like it. They say that in these experiments they were part of, many didn't survive, so some came in and didn't come out. So with O'Finian, he says, what was it, Project Talent? He says that there was, say, like 1,000 people and less than half survived. Actually, back in the day when he was going through it. So there's a massive fall off. There's a massive cull that just seems to naturally happen with these projects. Same with Barry King. Many of them went in and they didn't come out. And now it makes you, I just thought of this, it makes you wonder, if let's take artificial augmentation, merging humans with the machine, chipping and stuff like that, brain chipping and all that stuff, having like special powers with it, the voice to skull and everything, secret communication, stuff like that can benefit military personnel, soldiers. Do you think if it was really safe, and if the human being it was meant to go through this process, why wouldn't they basically make it mainstream and known that there is a risk, but if you're in the military, there is a choice, or it's compulsory that chipping is done to create this cybertronic type technology that gives us a fighting edge. Everyone else is doing it, so we do it, and it's very effective, and we're very proud of this, and this is the future, But they don't, and I think possibly is because there's such a physical risk of doing it, and there's a higher death rate when it happens. So if you have 100 subjects, maybe only less than half are actually suited. Maybe 5% can survive and function and be 100% okay. So if that was the case, they could still use this, but it have to be done privately, because if you showed people what happens to people, that can't make it, and it's such a small survival rate. You made it mainstream for all the people to see. This is our, all the civilians to see. This is our military, and this is what happens to them. Nobody would want to join. So what you probably would do is have a few of those survivors, these few elite people with no name, no record, black project. Then you have the official, overground military, and then you would have one of them here and there run with them with this technology as an extra kind of asset, and very, very in and out, very, very secret, something like that. This is just my thoughts here. Because when I listen to these people, bear in mind their heyday seemed to be the 70s and early 80s. It took so much time and effort to create, one of these loose term super soldier. That's the buzzword, isn't it, to describe all of this. But it took a long time to create one of these individuals. You had to, according to what I've listened to, they start from childhood. They see what actually talent they have, if they're abnormally strong for their size, if they have great stamina, physical things, aggression, if they have psychic abilities, mind reading, telepathy, ability to remote view, leave the body and go to places and come back and all of that stuff. So it seems to be these central intelligence agencies that Barry King was part of, and Duncan O'Finian. They seem to be looking for talent, and then they wanted to enhance that and own it and control it. So the brainwashing, that O'Finian went through, the breaking down of the personality through torturing, and then either die or split, that kind of thing. If you don't know what I'm saying, you can watch his videos. You can get them easily on the internet for now. So it took time. You need a child to do that, and then once that happens, you create these altars, fracture the psyche into like a honeycomb with all these different altars that do different jobs. So, and you have you have a handler. Handler gives a buzzword, a code or something, and it activates each one of these personalities that has a certain skill, like an assassin, a psychic mind reader, something like that. So it's, by the looks of it, it took decades to build these exceptional people, and then after that, augmentation, chipping was used to enhance perhaps what they have, enhance psychic abilities, strength, etc. And then genetic engineering as well. Both of these people and other people I've heard, they went through genetic engineering through injections and stuff like that as well. Now, was it the same type of therapy in the prickly pear? Don't know, but it could be similar. But either way, genetic engineering took place. And so you want a person really originally that has a strong drive, that has these psychic abilities, and whether it's probably passed on hereditary, but I'd say there's something about somebody with psychic abilities. They have a strong psyche, and then what you do is you kind of own that being, and by fracturing them, and it takes a long time for them to come back. Eventually, they say the person will take their life once they reach a certain age, because they just seem to fall apart. That's quite sad. But the method I'm describing, using the brainwashing, the torturing, drugs as well in a primitive form, and injections, is very primitive to, I believe, what we have now. Even the microchipping was available with, and that included psychotronics, mind control and stuff like that. I think it's what we have now is on another level. And I do remember O'Finian saying it doesn't take as long, nowhere near, to produce the kind of thing that he was. You can literally get somebody with, you know, the technology that's out there now and just own their mind and can control them. And that rang a bell as well. I didn't mention that before. So the notes I've made, just rough notes, is psychotronics, optogenetics. I'm going to mention augmented human AI chipping, memory wiping, memory implants. These were some of the things that I watched recently in a Barry King interview. Dream warfare as well. All of these things I think can potentially be achieved by optogenetics on a subject. Let me read the definition of psychotronics just briefly. I looked it up on Wikipedia. Psychotronic torture, it's just a rough note, mind control, the use of electromagnetic radiation, radar and surveillance techniques to transmit sounds and thoughts into people's heads, affect people's bodies and harass people. Now I remember one of the videos I did recently talking about the UFO alien ET smokescreen cover for these type of experiment on not just black project military type characters, but on civilians, and it was the ET cover that was a smokescreen. Now remember the guy that wrote the book on was it Upon a Pale Horse or Behold a Pale Horse, Bill Cooper? He, I believe, was killed, and I think one of the things that endangered him and led to his death, if he was murdered, was he questioned the ET agenda and said, is it a smokescreen just to hide high advanced government technology that they're going to use on the general population? Project Bluebeam can be included, but it was an excuse, you see. If we bought the ET PSYOP, they wouldn't need needlecraft, because they can use, if we believed it and it got more popular, then the UFOs were ET UFOs, not government weapons, and then the intervention, the government intervention would be seen as aliens and everything. I don't know, but I don't think that was really the plan to do it that way. They've got more of an advanced way, I think, now with nanobot tech and the optogenetic method. Now, how I think that what we have to look out for is behaviour in the future of people who have had lots of prickly pear therapy, because I want to talk about a part of a Barry King interview I watched yesterday, rewatched, and he was talking about how in one of the experiments he was used in, he was told to stand under some craft, this smallish craft, triangular craft, and it was several feet above his head but not that high, and he could see it and everything, and he was told just to hold his hands up like this, and he had all these military personnel around him taking photos, and he did, and he felt a sensation, then he felt pain in his head, I think. Afterwards he said that all the fillings in his teeth hurt, but when he felt the pain when he was standing under it, he closed his eyes and he felt like he was rushing through water, like he was swimming through water very fast. He even had all the sensation of it. It was very not just visual, it was very much like a physical thing for him. And he said, because they were discussing Project Bluebeam, fake ET and all of that, to the gentleman on the radio that was interviewing him, and he said Bluebeam is one thing, like beaming things in the sky that look impressive is one thing, because you can look at it and you can go, wow, that's impressive, but if you're not part of it, then it's still outside of you. But he says with the technology they have, you are not looking at it, you are part of it, you are part of the experience, you are part of the event. You can feel it, touch it. You are literally, it's almost like an artificially induced kind of spiritual experience, like a rapture type experience, I think he was getting at. And he said it doesn't have to be an ET thing. It can be anything. It can be a war. It can be anything. It just magnifies you. It connects you to the experience. So you're going, there's no way that this is not real. It's not happening inside me. But this is the power, I think, of our psyche. And if you don't own it, what can happen? And I am really suggesting that this is one of the big intentions of this gene therapy. You know, you look at LSD. So I'm just checking the time and don't want to run this video too long. Might do it in halves. But anyway, look at LSD. And actually, they created synthetic LSD. You had the CIA experimenting on the public there. Same intention, just with this drug, more of a primitive way back in the 60s. And I watched a video just briefly today of a guy saying when back in the 60s, I think, when he took it, he said it questioned his identity, it questioned himself, it made him question who he was he real, etc. Right? Sounds a good thing, but it's he has two heads to the same coin here. It's a double-edged sword. Okay, now let's bring in I'm trying to kind of piece this all together, but it's a bit chaotic because my notes are very rough. But anyway, I think it was Thomas Sheridan that mentioned the word techno-shamanism, and this is what I think as the weapon of mind control that the powers want with the prickly pear technology and optogenetics. They can induce some kind of technotronic shamanism where it's falsely inducing like a what you would call a shamanic spiritual event inside a person, just as they say LSD can, especially the synthetic stuff, but even maybe taking the natural stuff. You are not finding it yourself, you're not going inside yourself, it's almost being induced. And if you don't have the depth of experience, or the depth of the spiritual depth, your psychic depth, then it can really become addictive or do nothing for you, or be very detrimental to you. So you can link this with, I would say, you can link techno-shamanism potentially with the prickly pear technology, optogenetics, and I'd say it's almost like the private subject testing is probably still happening, but they have made the whole human race a big MKUltra experiment. May have said that before, but I really do think that they potentially want people surviving and breeding that have had all of this therapy inside them, so that they can create the new remote controlled human being. As I said, think about the Trump, the attempted Trump assassination, and think about the shooter. Was he an MKUltra that was created within weeks with cybertronic control through, if he had plenty of roosters and prickly pear in him, could he be made something that's far more controllable in an instant than somebody like Duncan O'Thinian back in his days, and Barry King and people like that? Is that how powerful this stuff is? That's what's got me thinking here with that recent event. And another one Mr. Thomas Sheridan mentioned was the Taylor Swift concerts. There's people going there and having memory gaps and memory holes and not knowing why they went. Is the prickly pear technology being activated there? Questions, lots and lots of questions that I'm thinking that we need to be prepared potentially for people who are who have took a lot of pricking and have kept on ticking, who are severely roosted, that they might be having some false psychedelic events in group events like concerts or on their own that we need to be aware of. We don't want to assume that they really are waking up, because they might be telling you in the years to come, hey, I've woken up. I know what you mean, man, about the reptiles and the aliens, and I've seen them, man. Can't you? And we'd be thinking, oh my God, these people are ahead of us. But no, maybe this is the optogenetic technology kicking in. Anyway, I'm gonna cut it short. I'm gonna make another video that's basically connected to this as well. All right, take care. See you in the next one. Cheers.